This is my new book. This is AQE Foundations. Remember who you are. Many of you are drawn to the work that I do. Many of you are drawn to my energy and to the light language I speak. And this book offers understandings of what I am doing, of who I am being, of who I am, and the work I am here to share with the world. This is ACASMA Quantum Energy. It is a higher dimensional space of connection. It is a way in which your gifts are activated, your remembrance is activated, your languages of light are activated. You are vast. You are vast, Holy One. And you are having this particular experiential space of your being in this now form of you as a human. And this book walks you through the foundations of reconnection to this understanding of yourself as this vastness, in connection with this glorious you-ness in this human you are. So allow yourself to check that out. Look at it. It's on Amazon.com. There's a beautiful link below this video. And also there's more information on my website as well at sacredexpansion.com. So today I'm going to be talking about faith. So I've had a few of you reach out, and I get a lot of questions every single day in all different aspects of the work that I do in this world of the awakening and remembrance of the being, yes? And so this question, there's a few of you asking it all at one time, so I thought, let's go ahead and talk about this. So I'm actually going to read the question that was sent in, and if you have a question that you would like me to answer, please send it in to me. You can email me at acasma.andrea@gmail.com, or you can go to my website, sacredexpansion.com. There's contact buttons on there, very easy. Click it and just send me the question. All right, so here is a question that many of you have been asking. So due to their past life difficulties, they've lost a lot of faith and they've separated themselves out, they say. They feel that they do have faith, but they would like to amplify that faith or restore that faith. And she says, the faith in me and faith in God. And that's the biggest part of this conversation we're about to have here, is how we've been viewing the me and the God. Yes? Because that's a really big space for so many people when they're leaning in with faith. And maybe they've been taught their whole life that they need to have faith in something outside of themselves, and that if and when things don't look right, that means that something's wrong, and either they are in some way separated out from that they have faith in, and or not being heard by what they have faith in. And sometimes they can even blame themselves for that. But she goes on and she says, I want to feel the power of faith. I want to remember faith. Would you be able to do a custom video? And if yes, please let me know the investment. I would. And then she goes on and speaks about some other things. She's joining me in my AQE course. So that's starting on March 3rd. And that's a fantastic space to really remember faith and remember who you are. So that'll be opening up for her as well. All right. So let's talk about this then. Let's talk about this restoring faith and amplifying faith. And what is faith? So we put faith in things every single day. We put faith in the fact that we are going to take a breath of air and it'll be there. We put faith in the idea that we'll open our eyes in the morning and have another day. You know, we have a faith in that, if you will. And there are people we put our faith in, loved ones, friends, co-workers, sometimes people we meet on social media, and through outreaches like YouTube and TikTok, we can put faith in people and their encouragement, their support, their teachings, their guidance, their understanding. And we can put faith in God, or what you would consider God, because I have come to a space in my life that I realize that the even concept of what we really mean when we say God is beyond anything any human religion or culture or teaching or dogma or theology has taught. None of them have it right, because God is too big to be in any one box and seen in any one way. That's my opinion and my understanding. You may have yours, and you should. But even with my understanding being that it's not about a Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, or a man on a throne, or an Allah, or a Yahweh, or Great Spirit, or any of these names that humans and cultures on the earth have given to what they would imagine and or believe in as God, even though I understand that in my understanding, God is bigger than that. For me, I don't even like using the term God anymore, because God is a male term and goddess is the female term. And I believe that the space that I understand as what God would be for me is an origin of both the male and the female. So I don't even use that term as much anymore. I still have it in there, but for my personal spaces and my teaching spaces, I love to use a lot of words, because that helps everyone really release some of the constriction on it has to be this way or that way, and it can't be any other. So I will use the word source, prime consciousness, origination point, great spirit, the one. That's one of my favorites. I have faith in the one. And for me, all those terms, the one, prime consciousness, great spirit, origination point, for me, all of those are the frequency and vibration of love at its optimal alignment, its optimal existence, its optimal frequency, vibration, flow rate. And then that space of prime consciousness, that space of love, that space of the one, moves out through the vastness of consciousness that makes up all the spaces of consciousness, right? All of the spaces beyond even Earth and humanity, because there's so much more. There's so much more. But that space for me is what most people would call God. But I've just allowed myself to speak differently terminology wise so that I could open the vastness up of what that space really, in my opinion, is. And these other spaces are a space of what I'm speaking of. So even the God space and the teachings of God and the teachings of the goddess are spaces of the one. They're after the origination point of that consciousness, that love vibration, but they are close to it as well. We have so many different timelines and realities available based upon what you believe. You tap in and you begin to live out the alignments energetically in that vibrational connection that match you. And in some of the reality lines, the belief structures are very in alignment with certain religions, certain cultural teachings, whatever it is. But I will tell you something that you can be sure of 100%, and that is faith has nothing to do with any of those particular names, teachings, or spaces, or structures. Faith is different than the space you are placing the faith in. Faith is different. Faith is your PowerPoint, and faith is under your control. It is not something that anyone else can give you, but it is something you can nurture within your own being. And the only way faith grows is through love and trust. It is belief. It is belief. There's a wonderful, beautiful story. I tell it a lot in my course spaces. And it is about the teachings of Jesus Christ, or Yeshua. And I have very different, well, not very different, but I have taken these teachings and allowed myself to unbox them some from the theology or the dogma that has restricted them into a human mindset. And I've removed them from that. That's in my book as well. But the teaching, the story is really beautiful. So I'd love to just go over it with you here because it is, for me, the epitome of faith. And that faith is the key. Not even Jesus, but faith. And Jesus said this himself. So let's look at it together. There's the story of this woman who hears that this man, Jesus, is performing all these miracles. And the lame are walking, and the blind are seeing, and the sick are made well. And everyone is talking about it. So there's just so much, proof, if you will, going on. Story after story being conveyed one to another of these miracles. So this woman, in the story, in my understanding, biblically, this woman has a daughter who's very ill, and she can't get the daughter to Jesus, but she feels if she can get to Jesus and just get close enough to him, and just get close enough to him to be in the vicinity of his energy, and if she could touch him, her daughter would be made well. And so she travels to the city where she knows Jesus is, and the crowd is big, and they're swarming around him. And she's, they're just all bunched up as a big group, walking through the city area, the village city area. And so she's trying to get near him, and she's pushing through, the crowd, trying to get near him. And she gets almost to him, but she realizes she's, she may not get any closer than where she's at, so she's got to go for it. And he's walking in front of her, she's behind him. And she leans through the crowd and pushes through with everything in her. And as she pushes through the crowd, she ends up just coming in contact with the very bottom of his garment, the hem of his garment, his robe that he had on. And she touches that, and she falls down on the ground in the crowd, and they're all just keeping walking. Nobody's even noticing her. And she's feeling this an immense amount of energy moving through her body. And she knows she's made contact with the miracle she was seeking. The power lies in what happens next. Jesus stops immediately, and he says, "Who touched me?" And his disciple next to him says, "What do you mean, who touched you? Lord, there are many around you. The crowd is great. Many have touched you." And Jesus turns around and he's looking, and he says, "No, someone touched me. I felt the energy move." Because it was different. It was faith that touched him, and he felt the energy move, and he saw her there, and she said, "It was me." She was nervous, she was scared, but she said, "It was me, it was I." And she proceeded to tell him of why she had done it, that her child was ill, and that she knew if she could just touch his garment, get in the vicinity of him, she would be able to bring that healing to her child. That was her faith. And you know what he said to her? He didn't tell her, "Okay, I'll heal your child. Where's your child? Let me go to your child. I'll lay hands on your child." He didn't tell her that. He said, "Go. Your child is well. Your faith has made her so. Your faith has made her so." And I always love that story. He didn't say, "I have made her well." He said, "Your faith." It is your faith that heals your body. And there are other verses where even Jesus, Yeshua, said that, he could do all these things, right? Because he lived in a higher version of consciousness. He lived in a higher vibrational state of his being. He understood energy. He understood the quantum. He understood eternal being. And he said, greater things shall you do than even I do. That's what he said. And he's healed the sick and he raised the dead, and the lame could walk and the blind could see. And he said, greater things shall you do than even I have done. He does say in my name, but I believe that's a translational thing. And I believe that he was meaning, when you understand my teachings, which is that you are this as much as I am this, we are this. And he didn't come to make a religion. He didn't come to make Christians. He came to make Christs, plural, many, the awakening and the ascension of humanity. Now, these don't have to be your teachings, but they are mine. And I was asked to speak on faith. And this is a very big part of understanding faith, because a lot of people on the planet have been taught that it's outside of you. A lot of people on the planet have been programmed and taught that you're incapable of healing your own body, or you're incapable of healing another person, and that you need to know that it's not you, and that it's this God or this deity or that goddess. But Yeshua taught that it's you. And many others taught that as well. I teach that. Even with the teachings I teach and activate people to be energy healers and to heal their own lives. And then if they choose to assist others, even in that, I tell them all the time, it's you. It's always been you. It's not me inside of or through you. It's you, Holy One. And faith in you is faith in God, because you are not separate. You are a space of that origination point, experiencing itself in this now line. And when you say, I love God, or God loves you, that is to say, I love me. I love myself. My being loves me. And you are vast beyond that which you see in the mirror. That is a space of you. And it is a glorious, magnificent, and divine space of you. But you are even bigger than that, Holy One. This is a space that you are in this now, but your inner consciousness, your light, your eternal being, your spirit, your soul will always be, always. You are eternal. This is the vessel. You have a vessel for this now experience. But understanding that eternal side of you is huge to amplifying your faith, to really being able to remember who you are and all that you are. So allow yourself to lean in and trust yourself. And even when you say, but I need, my angels help me, or my guardians help me, or my ancestors help me, or whoever it is that you're saying is helping you, that's beautiful. And they are helping you. And faith will amplify that help. Whatever you believe in, you will expand that space. If you believe you are alone and no one hears you, as long as you hold that alignment, that is what you will experience. And this isn't said to be judgmental, it's said to be empowering. It's said to offer those who may be in that space the key to opening the door and leaving that alignment. Sometimes we have to say things and put things into motion with our imagination and our hearts and our inner knowing. That faith has to come forth first, that we walk by faith, not by sight, in order to then birth it in that which we see. And trusting yourself and allowing the unfolding of everything from the trust is how that happens. Because sometimes things can unfold that we look at and we see and we say, this is not good, this is uncomfortable, this is difficult, this is wrong, this is bad, and we judge it. But what if you hold the understanding of that faith to such a degree that even when that is happening, the uncomfortable, the space that doesn't look like you want it to look or feel like you want it to feel, what if you had so much faith that you knew without a shadow of a doubt it was taking you where you needed to go? And that because of what was happening in that space and in that uncomfortableness, you were bringing you exactly what you truly desired. You know, when I lost my job in 2017, I was fired. And it is actually the best thing that's ever happened to me. So I'm very grateful for that. And in the moment, it may not have felt that way. In the moment, it may have seemed big, uncomfortable, daunting, you know, but it was the way in which I got to be where I am now, doing what I love, trusting myself, leaning into my truth, activating my gifts, working with my teams of light, and being this glorious space of ACASMA Quantum Energy that is assisting innumerable people across the planet in freeing themselves. I am so grateful I got fired after 17 years. Not even a thank you or a good job or a watch or whatever they do, you know. But that's all right, because I got something even better out of it, something even bigger. And I am grateful beyond words, grateful beyond words. So my faith in that space is part of how I functioned through that experience and moved into this new alignment. Because I always saw that no matter how it was playing out or what was happening, I always saw and knew and felt and believed that I was taking me exactly where I needed to go, in just the way I needed to go. And my faith aligned this space. And whatever you do, you get better and better at the more you do it. So as you are leaning in to trust yourself and have faith, you are expanding and opening up that ability of faith. So as you are leaning in, you are opening up and expanding. And as you are allowing, you are opening up and expanding. And in the spaces in which it can feel as if it's more difficult to trust, those are the spaces where you are moving mountains by trusting. Now you are surrounded by teams of light. You are surrounded by whatever your spiritual beliefs are in alignment with. And you can zip in and out of multiple realities based upon what you really are feeding your focus to. So if your focus, say you were raised in a certain religion or no religion at all, and then you meet people or you move through spaces of your life where you gain more understanding in certain aspects, and you start to alter, change, and expand your original understandings. So now you've left that specific timeline of experience, of the way in which your reflection of your spiritual world plays out. And now you're in an alignment where that has opened up and some new spaces are available. And you can zip in and out. It's how energy works. Because sometimes we have echoes from old programs. Sometimes we have spaces of ourselves that we've been for so long that even as we move and open up and begin to understand ourselves in new ways, these echoes, these spaces are still there to some extent, and that can pull us back into that alignment now and then. But we have the choice, you know, we have the choice. We always have the choice to allow ourselves to be aware of whatever it is we are giving our focus to, whether it's an old belief structure, a new belief structure, or being open to just allow without judgment. We have the ability to be aware of where we're placing our focus, and we have the ability to observe as the grand observer, not as the only this version of you, which is beautiful. But when you allow the wholeness of you to observe, you are going to see a much bigger picture. And when I say wholeness, somebody says, what do you mean by wholeness? I mean the spaces of you that you would see as your future self, your eternal soul, your higher mind, your higher self. That's your wholeness. spaces of you that you understand as or think of yourself as, and I don't do this anymore, so you don't have to either, and many of you may not, but there are people who see themselves as broken. They see spaces of themselves where they had trauma, they had abuse, they had pain, they had sorrow, they had loss, they had hardship, and they see themselves as that's a space of me that was broken. And so that understanding is to, when I say allow your wholeness, tap into your wholeness, trust your wholeness, I'm saying stop trying to have the broken person space of you carry you. That part of you needs some compassion and some nurture and some love so that it can heal. Because if your view is that that is a broken space, you have to heal it. And everyone can heal in different ways. Some people, they just learn to understand energy and they master their energy and they just know that it's done. And some people need to go back and find the spaces. But the key is you can't go back as the now you. That's called shadow work, and it's old and it's dense and it's not where we need to be anymore. That's the dark night of the soul, where people stay in cycles of healing forever and ever and ever. You don't need to do that. You can go back, but you have to go back as the wholeness, the future self, the you 5 years from now that's already healed it, the you 20 years from now, 1,000 years from now. Yes, yes, wow, is that mind-blowing for you? Well, allow that thought. There's 1,000-year older me in the future that's already connecting in with me and working with me. Many of the things I speak that come in so clearly and quickly and are such a different space of consciousness, they're much higher vibrational space of consciousness, are coming from that space of me. It's me. I'm a quantum being, I'm an eternal soul, and this is a versional space of my being. And you are as well. But most humans are compartmentalizing themselves to this is it. They kind of get that they're eternal and they're going to die one day, and that death part looks really big and daunting, but they get stuck in what's happening right now and what have I already lived through in the immediate vicinity of, like, when I was a child or when I was a young person, or maybe even one life back or 2 lives back tops, you know, and they get really stuck in that. Maybe they have someone tell them, a healer or something, tell them, you know, you were burned at the stake, or you had your head cut off, or you drowned, or whatever it is. And they get stuck in that space. Oh, well, man, I've had this happen to me. I'm carrying this pain. And as long as that's where the focus lies and the faith lies, because the faith is in that when you give your focus to it, whatever you give your focus to, you have faith in. And as long as that's going on, that's going to amplify. And every single experience that person has is going to be connected energetically, a repeat of that density, until that density is understood as not bigger than them. Until we understand that what we experience is not bigger than us. It is a space we experience, and we are vast and sovereign. And even in the densest spaces of pain or sorrow or tragedy or trial or tribulation or whatever that is, even in those densest spaces, we are still that sovereign one, offering ourselves some type of understanding and wisdom to move into the next space of ourselves. That's what it is. So may you have faith in the understanding of who you truly are. May you have faith in the understanding of the enormity and innumerable amount of love that surrounds you. You have teams of light around you. Everybody, always, like across the board. You hear these stories of people with near-death experiences. I have so many clients that I've documented this with. And every single one of them, the minute, even if they're still kind of deciding whether to go or stay, right? That near-death experience moment playing out. Every single one of them says they are surrounded by love. They are surrounded by past loved ones or angels or star families or ancestors or spiritual people, spaces like Jesus or Mother Mary or whatever it is for that person. Every single one of them. And that space of understanding isn't just when you're in between this lifeline and the next space of you in that transitional near death space. It's not just then, it's now, with the eyes open and the breath breathing through the body, that you are surrounded by those same beings of light. You are never alone. And if you experience any density, or you say, well, but I've had these experiences with dark beings or dark entities or whatever it is, that's because that is you aligning an experience that you need in order to drop those fears, heal those spaces of your being, your mindset, your belief structures, and move into the next space of you. I know I had the same experiences, the sleep paralysis, the beings in my room. I have so many stories, so many really big stories, 40 some years of my life. And then when I decided to walk through those fears and embrace love and embrace my sovereignty and trust myself and trust my teams of light without needing to know who they are, what their names are, not compartmentalizing them and packaging them up and saying they have to be this, that, or the other, but just trust, plain out trust, 100% across the board, trust, faith. When I did that, all of the dense beings and spaces of experience stopped. They haven't happened since. Years now. Because I shifted my vibrational alignment with what I would connect with. So, faith is powerful. Be mindful of what you place the faith in, because everyone has great faith, even if it is faith in the fact that they are alone, or faith that they don't have faith. That's faith. So, may you lean in, Holy One, and allow faith in you, faith in love. And that means that you are then open to allowing faith in all the spaces of you and in all the spaces of love. And you trust it and you allow it. Yarokuane, nabrekianatea, otuaye, sotukuane, yanatawa, atua aye, kianataki autua. You are so beautiful. Korokuaye, you are so beautiful. May you remember who you are. Blessings upon you, Holy One. Blessings. Hey,